Maybe I would like to alert the secretary. Yeah, okay, the recording is on because I hope that for those who has missed the live presentation, most probably you're allowed to look at the recording. I would like to give some little background. I was approached by Professor Dato Asma last month. She was asking, can you please look into the marine science group in IIUM? And I been my mentor as well as my ex vice chancellor of USM. I told her I'm more than happy to help. So with this presentation, I've actually geared the presentation to actually guide, because I look at the scientists in IIUM who is doing marine science. I would say most of you are fairly young in this area, and this, your path to success is still so bright, and have a lot to learn and a lot for you all to do. I'm sure with all the great minds and with all the energy you have, I'm sure with proper guidance and proper exposure, I feel that you all would excel. Most probably IIUM would lead in the near future in the field of marine science. Yeah, so allow me to share my screen. Okay. You can see my screen, right? Dr. Abba?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, good. So basically, the title is given by Dr. Abba, and is this really huge, blue economy, environmental sustainability in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. This is very huge topic, but it is very relevant, and it is hopefully by the end of the talk, it will open up your mind to opportunities and ideas and innovations on what you can do, because currently MOSTI has opened up a lot of new grants for us to venture, and a lot of the new grants is based on the 10-10 STIE concept, which involve a lot of components in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, and also in conjunction with the United Nations decade for ocean science. I think CASA, Kementerian, the Ministry of Environment and Water, is also going to open up some grants for scientists to look into. Okay, so basically, based on the title, I have to link what is blue economy to sustainable, which is very relevant to SDG goals, and also the fourth Industrial Revolution 4.0. Recently, I would like to advertise a little bit. USM has been ranked 39 in the THE SDGs on sustainable efforts. So which is we have improved, and we are still leading in the country on our sustainable efforts. And for SDG number 14, which is life below water, USM has ranked 58, if I'm not mistaken, 58. Even though it's 58, but we are still leading in the country. I would like I'm quite proud about the results, because that was achieved. 14 SDG 14 goal, we championed it in USM, and that was achieved with hard work from the marine scientists, as well as not only marine scientists, and also we have collaboration with our water management group to actually look and submit and contribute to the SDGs. So I would like to share what we have done in this talk, all right? So basically, what is important? I feel what is important is we must understand, because blue economy is a very popular word, and how many of us really understand what blue economy means? If based on the World Bank definition, blue economy means sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improve livelihood and jobs while preserving the health of the ocean ecosystem. This is defined as World Bank definition, and it's very similar, to the three main pillars of sustainability, which is for the people, for the planet, and profit. If you try to match on the definition, economic growth is for the profit, improved livelihood is for the people, and preserving the health of the ocean is for the planet. So it's in line with the main three pillars of sustainability. And this is a very, I like to use this infographic because it answers all on what blue economy involve. And it's very, if you go around it, in what is shown in this infographic, it's inclusive and improve the life of all. And it's based on sustainable fisheries. There's no longer about destruction fisheries. It's no longer about trawling. It's no longer about destroying the environment for aquaculture. Yeah, and then about harnessing renewable energy. Take action against illegal fishing, pollutions, addressing pollution because we need to protect the environment and protect the coastal communities, not just the environment, but coastal communities, because the communities themselves are the one is relevant to this blue economy. And also conserve life and oceans, create jobs, and also use smart fishing, shipping to lessen the impacts on the environment. All this is very much going to tie together with the industrial revolution as well. And why is blue economy so important? If you look at the diagram, blue economy supports, it is important because it supports the 5 blue growth sector. In my talk, I'm using a lot of blue because pertaining to ocean. Pertaining to ocean. So it supports the 5 blue growth sector, which is the biotechnology, can you hear me, right?
Yes, Prof.
Okay, because something appeared on my screen that state that I'm muted. Okay, sorry. So the blue economy supports the 5 blue growth sector, which is the biotechnology, aquaculture, coastal and maritime tourism, renewable energy, and mineral resources. I will go into each part of this because I want you all to understand, because by understanding what involved in the component of blue economy will give you ideas and will give you opportunities. Because sometimes if you are majoring in social science or you are majoring in engineering, you might say, what can I do for marine science, but by there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of multidisciplinary kind of effort need to be put in to address all the issues that I'm going to raise. Okay, basically, blue economy ties closely to sustainability, innovation, and our ocean. Yeah, because that is why if you were to address the SDG goals and also to address industrial revolution, through blue economy, it fits just nicely. And also, we must also, besides the blue economy, now we would hopefully slightly understand blue economy involves sustainability, of the planet, profit, and the people. And we must also, besides understanding blue economy, we must also understand ecosystem services. What do we mean by ecosystem services? Yeah. So ecosystem in the blue economy has direct link to ecosystem services provided by the various marine and coastal ecosystems. There are 4 main groups of ecosystem services. 4 main groups, which are provisioning services. And what do you mean by provisioning services? Means referring to the products secured by the ecosystem. For example, includes the water, the food, pharmaceutical usage, biochemicals, industrial products, and also energy. Yeah, and then the next one is regulating services. What are the regulating services? Means climate regulation and involve carbon absorption and storage via the oceans, the trees and the soils, waste decomposition, how we're going to regulate waste, one of the most essential microbial process happening in the soil. That means microbiologists can come in, crop pollination performed by the agents such as bees, but then in this case, most probably the seagrass and other organisms, the flora, marine flora, and water and air purification and regulation, control of pests and diseases in the regulating services. And the third group is supporting and habitat services, refer to the ability of ecosystems to give habitat for migratory species and to support the viability of gene pools. So the microbiology, the geneticists can come in here because it involves the gene pools, and the biotechnologies can come in to provide the blue economy in terms of supporting and habitat services, and also the nutrient dispersal in the area, and cultural services are the benefits of the ecosystem services brings to human. Example are inspiration for intellectual, which is the creativity, cultural entertainment, and spiritual, on purposes. And recreational experiences such as outdoor activities and ecotourism. So I guess in terms of cultural services, the social scientists or the social economies can actually come in to contribute in this ecosystem services. And then besides grouping them into four main components, we have also separate ecosystem services into use value. Either is use value or non-use value. Under the use value is direct use value. That means you can actually sell direct to the market of natural products. For example, the food, the fuel, the raw materials. Indirect use of the value derived from ecosystem services. For example, flood control under the regulating services. And option value of the future potential of complete and healthy environment. For example, the genetic resources to start, and also the connectivity, study of connectivity of the islands and the ocean, and legacy, altruistic value of living the environment intact for future generations, and intrinsic value of the nature and its beauty by and for itself. So if you look at blue economy or ecosystem services, there's a lot of aspect that all of us can contribute in creating an innovative research approach on pertaining to blue economy. And ecosystem services, in terms of their value, we must also know the value of ecosystem services. Sometimes we just take things for granted. We do not convert them into dollar and cent, because why is there a need to convert all this ecosystem or the environment into dollar and cent? Because that would give us an awareness. Why is it important to understand and the importance to protect the environment? So if you look at this table here, this diagram here, if you look at whatever that is relevant to marine science, it would be lake and rivers, which is, it can be aquatic, and it's very relevant also, even though it's not marine, but it's freshwater. It is relevant, and when it begins from the estuary area, seagrass, algae bed, and the shelf, continental shelf, the coral reef area, and the open ocean. If you look at it, the open ocean has the highest value in terms of dollar and cent, because the bar on the right hand side, it converts to dollar and cent. And you look at it, open ocean has huge value, follows by continental shelf and also the seagrass bed. Surprisingly, if you were to compare open ocean compared to tropical forest, the value of open ocean is almost double of tropical forest, because a lot of calculation, a lot of emphasis is being put on terrestrial, but we forgot on the oceans, because what we see ocean is just a horizon. You know, what's underneath, the value what's underneath is not being understood thoroughly. So that is why there's opportunity there. And a lot of times science has actually explored a lot of things in the terrestrial area, and now scientists is more and more going into marine. And mind you, you know, there's more and more universities, either public universities or private universities. They are now creating, each universities are trying to create a marine science department. It is a reflection of the need of grooming scientists to do more work in pertaining to marine science. All right. Okay. And also and also because we must not forget that Malaysia is a maritime nation. We are surrounded by seas, and if our research on marine science is, I would say at this level, is still at the very infant stage. We are actually, in terms of our marine research, we are actually behind Thailand and behind Indonesia in certain ways, you know. So it's time for us all to join hands and move the marine science agenda in the country. And if you look at this slide is taken from a study by the Malaysian Marine Park Authorities on the value of ecosystems services. If you look at how they calculate, from the top, fisheries, they estimated 580.4 million, which is supported by the coral reef and its surrounding ecosystem. Because coral reef and the mangrove system serve as the nursing ground for a lot of marine organism. Because once we lose this nursing ground, we will lose our fisheries. Yeah. And move clockwise, we have the tourism, estimated 4.6 million. Tourism, recreational ecotourism, which involve the coral reef and its recreational activities like scuba diving. And next is aesthetic value. Aesthetic value of the ecosystem services, yeah, is estimated at 8 billion, which involve the heritage, mostly heritage value. If we know, is our identity. If this aesthetic value represent our identity and our heritage and our culture, once if we lose it, the value of it is so high compared to the rest, is 8 billion. Once we lose this aesthetic value, we have indirectly lose our identity. Yeah. So biological support needed is about 1 million. And the coastal protection, yeah, the value of coastal protection, the importance for coastline and habitat protection is being estimated at 56.25 million. And for carbon sequestration, yeah, this is very important, you know, based from the coral reef, from the mangrove, and from the seagrass area especially. These three ecosystems are the coastal ecosystem. It's contributing to 30.24 million ringgit to balance the CO2 emission and decelerate the greenhouse effect. You know, this, if we do not protect or do not have the blue ecosystem services, most probably we have to pump in that amount of money to have similar balance of CO2 emission. Yeah. The bequest value, yeah, is the intangible value and is classified as non-use value. That itself also, it costs 14.5 million. You know, this is a calculation based on Malaysia's scenario. Just imagine how expensive and how valuable our ecosystem can be. And this is a quick run on the value of coral reef. Yeah, we zoom in into the value of coral reef. Coral reef has a value of 9.9 trillion USD globally, yeah, globally, and are relied upon by at least 500 million people. That means 500 million people is depending on the coral reef for their livelihood. It can be on fisheries, it can be on tourism, and these are this diagram shows the value in terms of what coral reef can contribute in terms of coastal protection, providing tourism, events, food production, medicine, and biodiversity. Because now a lot, especially for pharmaceutical industry, they are venturing a lot into the products of marine. So that is why taxonomy, biodiversity is important for us to look into, because that will eventually, sometimes we always ask, taxonomy is you cannot get a grant, if you just submit a study on checklist or on taxonomy, on identification new species. But it is wrong. That is the fundamental of science that leads to a lot of work, which is pharmaceutical, for food, for tourism. So that is the fundamental that we still need to do, because we must know what is there in our own environment, in our water. Yeah. This is also another example of ecosystem services provided by the mangrove ecosystem. Mangrove is also very popular and very prominent in our coastal areas. Yeah, mangrove systems are critically important habitat for a wide range of aquatic species, including fish, shrimp, mollusks, and crabs, providing nursery, feeding, and refuge areas and underpinning coastal food webs. Yeah, these are, if you look at the diagram, it spells out very clearly on what it can be contribute, and all this supports the commercial harvest, local subsistence harvest, and other sustainable use, such as limited timber and firewood harvest, and local medicine, and for other local users. Yeah, mangrove has been considered as one of the richest ecosystem service provided. Yeah, and this is an infographic showing the benefits of mangrove as well as the threats. Yeah, all this, do not worry about. I would share the slides with the organizer, so you can actually use it freely. So this shows the benefit of mangrove for the ecosystem, and also for mangrove is very popularly known for stopping or reducing the impact from tsunami. When we have a tsunami back in 2004, right after the tsunami, that's huge grants of planting mangroves around the coastline, around the whole of Malaysia. So during that time, that is positive. During that time, we have food, we have or the benefit of the people, not creating an enabling environment. It involves ocean governance, ocean finance, knowledge co-production, human rights and gender, integrated ocean management. Yet the knowledge of integrated ocean management is one of the key components of a sustainable blue economy. All stakeholders should be familiarized with challenges and opportunities of implementing integrated coastal management strategies to support the blue economy in practices. Yeah, the idea and necessity of co-production of knowledge. If you look at the co-production of knowledge, which is a key component when advancing a sustainable blue economy, this is needed for new knowledge in the context of integrated ocean management and addressing the challenges faced when working towards both top-down and bottom-up co-production of knowledge in relation to the blue economy. Like what Dato Asma always mention and always remind us, all this, the knowledge of co-production have to involve unlearn, relearn, co-learn, and co-create. All this, what she has said and always remind us, has incorporated in here, and it's important for us to integrate indigenous knowledge. Now we must go down, turun padang, like the what Malay word is, turun padang, and understand what the community, the coastal community knowledge, because that knowledge is also important for us to advance our knowledge. Do not think we are so high up in the ivory tower, but we still need to go down to the ground to look at what has been practiced for centuries, to understand better, and then we incorporate that into our current science. Yeah. So this sector, creating and very difficult to pronounce, enabling environment is a sector mainly on legal issues, economics, and social and ocean management. So if you are more of a social scientist, this might be a right component for you to be involved in blue economy. Yeah. Next, we go to blue resources. Yeah, blue resources basically involve this component: fisheries, aquaculture, marine renewable energy, deep sea big mining, marine biotechnology. So if you look at this, if you just look at blue economy, you might have no idea how you can incorporate in or put in the keywords blue economy in your proposal. But now with this deep dissecting of blue economy, what it involved, with the blue enabling environment, blue resources, and blue spaces, when you have these sub topics, now you would have more opportunity. I'm more interested in marine biotech, and I can link it with blue economy. That's of opportunity. Let's go into fisheries and aquaculture. I will not talk so much about this here because I would emphasize a lot of my examples, pertaining to sustainability and Industrial Revolution 4.0 is very much relevant to fisheries and aquaculture. So we will focus more on aquaculture approaches in the later section of the talk. I have to mention, because why we need to focus on this, because this is 50% of our seafood are now from aquaculture, and by looking into this into detail, we are also addressing the concern of securing food security for the increasing population in the country as well as globally. So the concept of aquaculture is a key component of a sustainable blue economy and an alternative to wild caught fishes, because we want to, why we introduce aquaculture? Because we want to lift the pressure from the captive fisheries. We need the natural, the wild fish to come back, to build out, to reproduce and come back and provide a sustainable income, for those local fishermen, who's still depending very much on wild catch. And this is also the principle and the opportunities of implementing aquaculture as part of the economy and toward food security globally, and are the way forward to achieve sustainable goals. If you look at this, how we would empower the blue economy through aquaculture. Here, if you look at offshore marine aquaculture, looking into marine algae, because now we have to look into other alternative besides just fish or shrimp for aquaculture, because no doubt fish and shrimp are the popular or the well-known popular seafood being served. But for sustainable value, sustainable approach, we need to look at alternative source, alternative livelihood that fits the community and at the same time can generate income. Next is we look at renewable energy as also one of the blue resources. Energy is the driver of all economies, and access to clean energy is crucial for sustainable development. Clean energy plays an essential role in advancing progress in areas such as food and water security, health, gender equality, and poverty alleviation. The marine environment has traditionally provided energy source via coastal and deep water oil and gas reserve. However, investors are increasingly turning to the offshore marine environment as a source of clean energy. Yeah, these are what we talk about renewable and clean energy. These are the different types of renewable energy that we can use. Yeah, this is all the blue resources, which is the solar energy, wind energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, electricity, biomass energy. Even though there is a lot of alternative here, but not all of these different types of renewable energy can be used in Malaysia itself. We have been using solar energy, but we in Malaysia itself, our wind is not that strong for us to utilize that as our wind energy. Tidal energy, some areas it can, but still our tidal range, yeah, between the high tide and the low tide is relatively small. For example, the highest tide to the lowest tide at most, yeah, in the Straits of Malacca at most is about 3.5 meters. Yeah, so we cannot depend on our tidal to actually go into renewable energy. Yeah, so geothermal, we are trying to tap into that opportunity. Hydroelectricity, some dams they are trying to use that, and I think TNB has been doing that. So um, that is why I would like to highlight here hydroelectricity. Our TNB is using it before they go into solar energy. Hydroelectricity has been used for quite a while, and that is why, like, as a marine scientist, we study jellyfish invasion. So jellyfish is a pest, not a pest, sorry, not is cause a threat to the hydroelectricity event in most of the dam, because once jellyfish invested that area, they will block a lot of the what they call their thermal line, yeah, and it will stop the electricity from generating, so it will cost them millions and millions of dollars. That is why the marine scientist comes in to look into the organisms. It can be jellyfish, it can be bloom of seaweeds in the area that might hinder the flow of the propeller, yeah, when they're cooling down the water to generate the electricity. And the other one is the ocean. Yeah, we are the ocean renewable sources. We zoom in. It's ocean tide, ocean waves, marine currents, and temperature gradient and salinity gradient. So you can, as a scientist, be creative and be more innovative. How can we, as a scientist, the engineers, yeah, the engineers, not necessarily the marine scientists, but the engineers from IIUM can look into how they can actually create ocean renewable sources by this looking at all these sources. Yeah, and the next one is blue resources. Still under the blue resources or minerals. These are something, being a marine biologist myself, this is not a field of my interest, but this is a field of the future. This is going to be the future, yeah, because we need to generate our resources. Yeah, we have now most probably exhaust our resources in the terrestrial area, and now we are looking in the resources in the sea. So minerals and their associate metals are a fundamental component of the high technology world we live in today. We need a lot of minerals and metals. The pressure on global stocks on raw mineral resources has led to increased pressures to extract from new resources, yeah, and maximize resources efficiently. as material consumption has continued to increase, yeah, despite increased innovation and recycling, despite, we have been looking into the 3 Rs, but despite that, the industry is still exploring opportunities related to previously inaccessible mineral deposits. Seabed mining is a nascent industry with only a small portion of the known deposit of marine minerals currently being extracted. However, in some cases, seafloor deposits are estimated to contain several times the potential supply of land-based reserve for the same metal. These metals are seen as important in the global transition to a greener, more sustainable energy production, and the potential for mining deep sea mineral deposit has thus attracted interest. And on 23rd April 2021, our Prime Minister, just a few days ago, our Prime Minister has announced at Putrajaya that minerals will be the top GDP earner by 2030. That means Malaysia is also now looking into exploring deep sea mining. So that is something, our future engineers should look into, because we have only, I have to make known, there's only one mining department, one department who is studying on mining, in the whole of Malaysia, and that is located in the engineering department of USM. There's only one. I'm sure if other institution can create a department or a section that look into this future opportunities, there would be a lot of demand for that. And then this slide shows basically what is involved and what is the process of seafloor mining. Most of the seafloor mining of Malaysia is on the South China Sea, in the Borneo area, because those areas are known for its rich in oil and petroleum, and that those area has deeper oceans, compared to the Straits of Malacca. If you are located, if your marine station or your site, your survey site is located in the South China Sea, it would be good if you will venture into deep sea mining. You look into the prospect and possibility of venturing into this area. And the next one on blue resources, this is very, very popular. We have a lot of students wanting to do marine biotechnology, especially biotechnology. Now, less and less students wants to be out in the field. More of them want to be in the lab, and what they can do is focus on marine biotechnology. And what involved in the marine biology, marine bioresources is something that still underexplored. It's still underexplored. In a report done by United Nations, it only stated only 5% of the marine flora and fauna, inclusive of the microbial ecosystem, microbial community, only 5% has been identified. Just imagine, we thought we already known a lot of our species, grouper, sea bass, oysters, we thought we know. But all these things combined is only about 5% has been identified. And there's still a lot more yet to be identified. Just imagine those which haven't been identified, whether if they host some components, some active compounds in them that can actually cure cancer, or it can be used for anti-aging, or it can be used as an answer to our COVID-19 now. Just imagine that, of that opportunity by using the blue biotechnology tools. I've listed down, biodiscovery, molecular genetics, cytogenetics, biochemistry, marine chemistry, microbiology, nanotechnology, bioinformative, genomics and other omics. The list goes on, you know. And then not once you explore into biotechnology, with the information, you can provide services. You can provide services in terms of ecosystem management, which area to protect more because of the valuable components. And for example, genetics, you know, certain areas are the gene pool to supply to other reef around area. For example, in Tioman, most probably some of the reef will be more important. Some of the small islands are more important to conserve first compared to the bigger island, because the smaller islands might be the gene pool to supply to supply the genes or the broods to the other smaller islands. You know, those are the information that you can use through biotechnology tools. And the fundamental research, applied research, bioremediation, and the products. You know, I think why a lot of students want to go to biotechnology, because they feel this is the field that they can become rich. They can make business, you know, because there's a long list of products they can produce, you know, if they were to do their science correctly, like marine drugs, biofuel, renewable energy, functional foods, proteins, enzymes. You know, those are the things that can actually secure an income for students, you know, to make a living. Okay, now that ends the area of blue resources. And now let's go to blue spaces. Yeah, what do you mean by blue spaces? Just now we are talking about mainly about the resources, the fish, the species, what we can do with it, biotechnology. And now we look into the spaces. These are when we dissect the blue spaces in the bigger cake of the blue economy is blue spaces. And what comprises in the blue spaces is climate and coastal adaptation. Now is also getting very popular, one of the emerging signs to be addressed. Coastal and marine tourism, maritime security, maritime transports and ports. And one that I've missed out is the waste assimilation, the pollution, you know, is also been put under the blue spaces. Yeah, so let's look at climate change and coastal adaptation under the blue economy. The Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, normally known as IPCC. For those who are working on climate change, you would know IPCC has reports that by 21,000, anthropogenically induced climate change, that means from human doings, is likely to lead to a rise in global temperature of 1.5 degree to 2 degree above the pre-industrial levels. Even though the increase is small, but it will do drastic changes to many things. Given that an estimate 10% of the world population live on coastal area that are less than 10 meters above sea level, such community will face increasing risk of floods, as climate change would cause extreme sea levels to rise with 1 meter or more by year 21,000. Economic activities that occur along the coastline will be affected, as well as climate sensitive livelihood activities such as fisheries and aquaculture. Yeah. Can I pause for a while here for 2 minutes break? All right.
Sure.
What is, yeah. So
sure, Prof. Perfect.
Yeah. Sorry, tak puasa. I need to have a sip of water. Okay, sorry, I'm back. So back to the climate change and impact. This is something very important now. In fact, uh, I think CASA, no, MOSTI, no, Ministry of Higher Education have given a call, have sent out a call to ask for proposal to address this issue. If your team after this talk, you can email me directly if your team is interested to come up with some studies to address climate change and adaptation strategies for coastal communities. Please do contact me and I can actually guide you to coming up with some proposals on this. All right. And then okay, let's zoom in and what it comprises. This slide shows the implementation of climate change study and assessment leading to adaptation measures. Coastal climate adaptation improve the adaptive capacity of coastal communities while improving on livelihood, human security, and low emission development initiative. Coastal adaptation, could prevent 95% of the projected economic losses. In this unit, in this slide, we explore coastal services delivered by marine and coastal ecosystem, how to apply technical and theoretical knowledge and coastal risk reduction and adaptation to climate change. And lastly, how ocean-based solution can advance climate action through nationally determined contribution. I have to remind, a lot of times when we put up a proposal, recently I've been sitting in a panel, when we put up, I've looked at most of the applicants, most of the proposal, the proposal is good. They incorporate in, they address the issue, climate change in the coastal areas. They look into coastal erosion, they study and they look into the water quality, how it's relevant, how it can impact the biodiversity, the flora and fauna in the area. But one of the major lacking in most of the proposal is the implementation, meaning that they are still doing a lot of, the proposal involve a lot of monitoring, but they forgot about the mitigation and the providing the solution. So any good proposal pertaining to environment or pertaining to blue economy, that proposal should incorporate in giving solution provider. We are at ivory tower. We are scientists. We are not just providing. We are not going to give a proposal that a technician can do. Constant monitoring, continuous monitoring over 1 or 2 years, but end of the project there is no answers. So my advice here is, if you were to do any proposal pertaining to climate change or any proposal, always have a section that how can it be used and how can it be addressed or solve the issues that is being faced. Okay, now under the blue spaces also we have coastal tourism. Coastal tourism is one of the world's famous fastest growing industry. I'm sure in Pahang, you have a lot of nice coastal area also, but except for the monsoon, most probably it would be affected. But other than that, you have long, nice beaches that can be used, can be tapped into for coastal tourism. And coastal tourism is an important source of employment and foreign exchange. Of course, now because during the COVID, tourism industry has been impacted drastically, and at the moment we are mainly relying on local tourism. So but I hope and I pray that the pandemic will slowly move away, and business will go back to usual. It includes our coastal tourism that can bring in more income. The aim of sustainable tourism is to maximize benefits. For example, job creation, foreign exchange earnings, and new infrastructure. When any place been designated as for coastal tourism, there's bound to be hotels, there's bound to be um, uh, um, uh, entertainment outlets, there's bound to be restaurants, all these things must be safeguarded, must be done in a sustainable way. And at the same time, if we are doing blue spaces under coastal tourism, we must also safeguard our cultural and natural heritage and minimizing the ecological and social impacts, especially from the mass tourism. If you look at the diagram here, this is definitely going to cause negative impact because it's too many, too many mass tourism. Okay, marine and coastal tourism, is especially vulnerable to climate change. For just even not climate change, to weather changes like the monsoon, the strong wind, the strong current, natural disaster and pollution. Expected sea level rise from climate change is the biggest long-term threat facing the tourism industry. Like Penang, we already now detecting the narrowing of our sandy beach. It doesn't happen overnight. The narrowing of the sandy beach can be due to coastal erosion, or it can be due to the gradual sea level rise. So that is something that we need to look at, because coastal tourism, most of the infrastructure lies just above the sea level. So that is very important. And the frequency of storm happening, typhoon happening, that is something we need to take into consideration also. Sustainable tourism, including ecotourism, can influence recovery and conservation of this ecosystem. That is why tourism is happening everywhere, but sustainable tourism has to be applied. That is why it's put under blue spaces. The importance of sustainable tourism is highlighted in the fact that it has been included in the 2030 agenda for sustainable development goals, in SDG goals 8.9, 12B, and 14.7. It has special SDG goals to target at coastal tourism that shows the importance of this component. Besides these three specific goals, tourism has been found to have capacity to positively contribute to all 17 SDG. Means reduce poverty, reduce hunger, that it addresses those, because when people has a job, all these things, poverty and hunger doesn't happen. All right. Okay, if you look at this map, this map here under blue spaces, map shows the global reach of mangrove tourism. Many times people do not pay attention of using mangrove for tourism. Mangrove forests are often overlooked as tourist attraction because last time, a lot of time, tourism is all about going to the site and look at the nice building, the nice landscape, but now it has evolved. Tourism are now more onto environment, to understand the beauty of the nature and be close, be back into the nature. But despite saying mangrove has not been given attention, but scientists has actually mapped about 2,000 attractions and operators in 86 countries worldwide, where people come for boating, fishing, hiking, and nature watching. These are how they tap into the mangrove and sustain it for tourism and income generating. Every day, thousands of visitors crisscross mangroves all around the world, following boardwalks, taking guided boat tours, or in kayaks. They see proboscis monkeys in Borneo, crocodiles, deers, and sometimes even tigers in the Sundarbans. Like in Langkawi, I'm not sure how many of you has been Langkawi. They actually have this mangrove tour. Take a boat to the mangrove, and in between you can go into the bat's cave, and they have this activity where they feed the eagles that actually inhabit the mangrove trees around the area. So those are all very sustainable, and it doesn't destroy the environment. Mangrove, a dome mangrove is unlikely to compete with some of the larger mass tourism attraction. This initial work provides a critical caution to coastal developers and highlight potential opportunities. Yeah, I have to share with you what I've gone through. Yeah, when I apply for that translational research grant, which is a huge grant. Yeah? I've managed to get 1.5 million. The project is 1.5 year, short project, but a big amount. One of the things that I need to achieve is to educate the community that I work with on the education of using mangrove as a tourism outreach, as a tourism ways of generating income. So it is important. There is opportunity, there is grants that is willing to support conservation work and sharing your applying what you know about conservation, what you know about ecosystem, what you know about biodiversity into converting into something that is able to generate income for the bottom billion. So this is opportunities. I have to share these opportunities. Is just you must know what area and where to look for the relevant funds. Yeah. So there is. And look at this, coral reef tourism value around the world. You know, a lot of time, coral reef is very popular. Coral reef are the prosper child of nature-based tourism. You know, it's been well known, but not many of us has the areas, you know, around us that we can use as coral reef for tourism. You know, I think for Pahang, you know, one of your champion coral reef tourism is your Pulau Tioman. Now you know, there is also ways that you can actually do work in Pulau Tioman that can actually enhance the nature-based tourism. And many visitors come specifically to visit the reef themselves, to swim over shimmering gardens of corals, or to dive. But then many more are unknown benefits. Yeah, if you can come up with a proposal to educate the community there. Besides bringing tourists to dive or to snorkel, what can you do? Can you talk about the heritage of Pulau Tioman, the culture, how the local community in Tioman do certain things? You know, how do they treat jellyfish, for example, jellyfish tank using the traditional methods? Those are all valuable information that tourists would like to know. They find it amazing. Sometimes we think that, oh, this is something we already know. Yes, we already know, but it's unknown to many people. Capture those values, those knowledge, and to be shared. You know, those are the things that you can look into as a project if you are a social scientist or even as a biologist. You know, those are many opportunities. Like this slide, it shows that the value of coral reef as a tourist attraction. Over 350 million people annually travel to the coral reef coast. We are lucky because we are in the tropics, and in Malaysia itself, we have many coral reefs that can be used, many national parks that has coral reef. And in Pahang itself, you have, you know, in Penang, we don't have coral reef. We have only turbid coral reef to study. But you have in Pahang, in the coastline, you do still have clear water coral reef to actually come up with a lot of work to be done, right? And if you look at coastal tourism also, you know, look at this estimated potential yearly whale watching revenue. This one I'm sharing because I want to make all of you know, and also with your knowledge, you can actually educate the coastal communities. For example, how valuable is to have the whale alive in the sea than to have the whale on land for food. You know, because for example, yeah, I've done a survey compared to when I was in the States. Yeah, they have actually estimated a ray, a stingray in the pot could cost the most 50 ringgit, yeah, on the plate or on a pot. But if a ray in the sea, yeah, were to leave it there and to be witnessed and to be enjoyed and appreciated by the tourists, it will bring more than 50,000 per year. You see the value. But a lot of times the public, because sometimes when I talk to the local community, I do understand their constraint. Their statement is, if to conserve, because they use the word conserve, if to conserve the fish or the environment, and at the same time I cannot put food on the table for my children, what would you think I would do first? I mean, it really goes into my heart, that statement, which is so true. Because being a scientist, sometimes we forgot, we want to practice green environment, conservation, protection. But when you really speak to the bottom billion, and when you give you that statement, if I don't do this, and my children have no food for the day, what choice do we have? So this is something for you to ponder, for you to think about. How can you do or contribute to improve the livelihood of the coastal communities? Do not need to go far. Just go to your coastal community around your country, around your state, see how much you can do. Sometimes we are so engrossed with our science, we are so engrossed into protection, conservation, because that is the right thing to do. Blue economy is sustainable for the planet, but even for the sustainable pillars, we must address the people also, economy and also the environment. It cannot have a more weightage on the environment and we sacrifice the people and the economy. So it has to be balanced, and all this concept lies in the blue economy. All right. And under blue spaces also is the maritime security. A lot of us being a marine scientist, we do not look into this as opportunity. Yeah? So as the blue economy evolves, new maritime activities are developing with related multi-stakeholder and cross-sectoral complexity increasing. So the ocean becoming more crowded as shipping activities evolve. Potentially hazardous freight is growing. A lot of negative impacts, coming out based on the active movement of the oceans. Yeah, for example, commercial shipping, cruise tourism, seabed mining, oil and gas exploration, fisheries where the trawlers are out there, aquaculture, and big technologies change. All these are not being monitored and no control, because sometimes when you're out in the ocean, there is no clear cut of the boundary. Yeah, there's no clear cut in the boundary. Like in land, for us to cross over to Thailand, we have to go through the immigration. But in the sea, we would not know where is the boundary until when you cross, the Navy comes after you. Depends on which country you have crossed. So that is why maritime security is also important. Yeah, for us to be is also important under the big umbrella of blue economy. Yeah. The next one is maritime transport. This is also very important because international shipping industry is responsible for the carriage of about 90%. 90% of our world trade, yeah, by volume, uses sea transport to transport because of the cost. So it uses the sea transport. And you look at this, these are the cargo shipping lanes, how busy our oceans is. Sometimes we are so tiny in the spot in the world map that we do not realize what is happening around us. So this is something that we need to look at also, because we do not know and we do not look into it, but that does not mean it is not important on this maritime transport. So there is a need for us to look into this sector also. Yeah. So every voyage of a ship starts and ends at a port. What happens in the port? You know, whether there's pollution, there's a lot of discharge, and that is where the source of invasive species is. You know, so it's to understand the transport and ports is important, because that will help us to control invasive species. That will help us to control pollutions in the water, because one of the major pollutions in the water is by all the shipping. Yeah, because when the ship or vessels stops in any ports, they do not stop their engine, because they need to discharge their ballast water. So the engine is always on. So that is where the potential of oil spill, the potential of leakage, and the potential, is proven, the emission of CO2 from the engine, also from the ports. So it is a huge contribution to our environment, but none of us, I do not study this. I do not even look at it, So it's something that if we are expanding the scope of blue economy, this is something that we need to look at. Yeah. And now, I've touched on blue economy, I've touched on sustainable development that is closely linked. And now I want to move into industrial revolution. Yeah. Industrial revolution. How do we make ourselves relevant? Yeah. How do we marine scientists make ourselves relevant to the new era, which is the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Yeah, this is a brief. Yeah, how it evolved from the 17th century to now. How it evolved from Industrial 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0. Now it's all about cyber physical system, Internet of Things, and networks. Yeah, why I am able to present you the talk now, despite the COVID, the hindrance in crossing states, because of the beauty of internet, the beauty of internet. Our life is now very depending on Internet of Things, on gadgets. Every time when we wake up, instead of brushing our teeth first, we look at our handphone. So it's like an addiction. So we are, whether you like it or not, we are already in the Industrial 4.0. It's just how are we going to move this agenda, in line with blue economy. So the fourth industrial revolution impacts will definitely have impacts on individual ourselves, on the society, national and global, on the business itself, and economy as a whole. You can look at it, how it impact. What is more relevant to us is the individual, the identity, morality, ethics, and human connectivity. We are now more connected. Someone asking question? Okay, sorry. All right. So when we look into Industrial Revolution 4, it is a development of platform that integrate management of terrestrial and marine area, and is implemented through social and economic capital and optimal use of digital technology. So the digital technology is the keyword here for Industrial Revolution 4, through transdisciplinary, integrated, and participatory approach. This is very relevant to what is being thrown out by MOSTI recently on the 10-10 approach. 10-10 approach. If you look at this, precision, accurate, zero waste, blue economy, high information technology, innovative education. This is all needs to be incorporated into the new proposal, the new way of writing a proposal, or giving a proposal, or getting a grant. This is all adopt from Industrial Revolution 4.0. I will show in a later slide how why is this relevant. And I would like to take this opportunity, because it is a long talk and I do not want to expand it longer. So I will focus to what I'm more familiar with. The role of science in optimizing the contribution of aquatic food to sustainably feed of the world population. I want to focus. This is a challenge given by FAO. not only for Malaysia, but it's a worldwide issues. Yeah, I'm talking more on aquaculture and how do we use sustainable blue economy into and with together with Industrial Revolution 4.0 into addressing generating food security. Yeah, the possibility of tomorrow. If you look at this, yeah, if you look at the diagram in the middle, the chart in the middle, we are now very much depending on aquaculture project, aquaculture feed. So it has to be aquaculture, no, not so much about capture fisheries yet. Yeah, so we are looking at this bar with the high road where economy is good, and with the low road where economy is down. That means we cover both the minimum and the maximum requirements. Yeah, and this is the blue food being required. Yeah, it's not only to fill up the stomach, it's also about healthy food. We are, you know, if we are looking into aquaculture, we have to look into not just the production, how do you make the food better? And this is called the impact of blue transformation. How do you transform your food, not just in numbers, but how do you make it a better product? That is the challenge in Industrial Revolution 4.0. Make it a better quality food. Yeah, make it a high value seafood. Yeah, this is called the blue transformation. And in terms of, I base my talk here a lot on the scenario or the success stories by Indonesia. Yeah, especially by Institute of Institute Perikanan Bogor, yeah, in Indonesia. They are championing a lot on their maritime and agro culture. They don't call it aquaculture, they call it agro maritime. Yeah. So how it evolved, yeah, in terms of how do they do their agriculture over based on the Industrial Revolution. With the current agro maritime 4.0 is very much depending on artificial intelligence, drone, big data agro maritime, digital agro maritime, robotics. These are all the things that you will find in the course for proposal posed by MOSTI. Yeah, you know, and then this is something very relevant also, the characteristics. Yeah, the characteristics. What are the characteristics that involve in the agro maritime besides all the technologies? Yeah, you must involve the villages, the communities as the frontiers of the economies. Yeah, providing them the information. We must also involve the raw materials, the stakeholders. Yeah, and the technology characteristics, what is involved. These are the technology from land to table, yeah, or from sea to table, Internet of Things. Again, these are all the new advances of technologies. Characteristics of production and business systems. So the process characteristics, the production orientation, the nature of the product. Yeah, if you look at the nature of product, safe, environmental friendly, this is very much in line, still under the blue economy. Yeah, despite the advance of Industrial Revolution, we still very much hold on tight to the blue economy, which is environmental friendly. Yeah, and characteristics, resources of human resources and knowledge transfer. Because now in any grants that you're applying, you have to address what knowledge have you done, what capacity building have you done, yeah, and what social impact. So this, if you look into these characteristics and you apply and address all these components in the proposal, I think the proposal will stand a good chance. And this is the scope, you know, the flow chart. What are the things that you can do? Internet of Things in the solutions, precision farming, smart weather, smart tools, smart genetic. You know, smart is the keyword now, you know, smart aquaculture, fishing, smart plantation, smart plant protection. You know, these are the things, you know, you do not need, I do not expect any one of you to do all. This is where you get a team to work together. This is where multidisciplinary comes in. This is where transdisciplinary comes in. You know, when you look at this framework, you can see opportunities. Because what I look at it, I see opportunities, a lot of things that we can do to address issues that being thrown out by the government to us scientists. For example, precision agro-maritime. What are the things you can do? These are the things that that involve in Industrial Revolution 4. Yeah, I'm not a IT savvy person, So these are the things that I would ask my colleagues from the computer science to come in to help, my colleagues from the mathematics department to come in to help, my colleagues from the genetics biotech component to come in to help, because this is not something that I'm familiar. If it's something you familiar, you can actually lead a team, bring in the biologists, bring in the economists, bring in the water chemists, come in to work on it. Artificial intelligence for agro-maritime industry. You are talking about product quality test by non-destructive quality testing. If you look at this, if you dip down inside and observe it, this is all very relevant to blue economy. Why must it write non-destructive? It can be by quality testing, because it has to be in line with blue economy. It has to be in line, because we advance too fast, and if we do not take care of the environment around us, we might be losing our support, the blue resources, the blue spaces. That is why all these specific, non-destructive, environmental friendly approach has to be used. Yeah. So these are also something that you can look at, and how do you incorporate in using smart artificial intelligence, using drone, to now doing the smart navigation. If you want to study the traffic, or how the port, or whether is there any oil spill in certain areas, smart drone is the answer now. Because last time we used to spend lots and lots of money to actually engage a private helicopter to go around. But now with the drone, it can be easily done. This is an example, of what you can do, incorporate in blue economy as well as IR 4.0. A fishing vessel tracking device, they call it trackfish. This is by a professor in Indonesia. A fishing vessel tracking device that record trace of fishing operation and equipped with fishing electronic reporting system. This will give us answers or baseline data on, is there trespassing of illegal boats in the area? Where do you get fish tracking? Where is the good area to cast your net or do your trawls? So you would know the routes, the leg long of the area, so you don't spend time doing your trawls or your casts unnecessary, wasting time and wasting petrol, wasting money. So with this technology, it will help. And also smart aquaculture in eel production. This is also a sample in eel production. Now it's going to reduce the labor work. So this is how they use for water quality monitoring. And a lot of time, the new proposal, a lot of time they incorporate in usage of internet, where you can actually monitor your pond or your fish cage remotely. That means you can still be at home and you can monitor whether is out in the sea. This is called smart aquaculture that you can actually do. Yeah. And sea farming and sea ranching, if you look at this map closely, with all the arrows, blue arrows, red arrows, those are all the tracking, the monitoring, remote monitoring, what can be done and what can be incorporated into the whole system using IR 4.0. Yeah. So this is also an example, sea farming 4.0, by IBP. They integrate the smart cage, the hardware and software system, all are in, So basically, if for any start off, you can use this as a template, to see who can do what, and what you want to address. If you want to address, like in Pahang, most probably you want to culture patin, the freshwater patin. Maybe you can actually try to incorporate in, this concept of incorporating IR 4.0. Yeah. And this is also, they do a lot of farming. Yeah. Indonesia, they do a lot of smart farming, incorporating the Industrial Revolution 4.0. So they use smart farming for site selection, using drone, for construction, the cage construction itself also, they use smart farming, they use all technology, fish stocking, they look at the fries quality, the biotech comes in, the feeding, automated feeding, and the water quality, all the stages. If you look at the production system from day one until marketing, they incorporate in all the high technology, internet, and IT, and all the high tech technology thing that goes in. It's no longer about manual, it's no longer about estimation, it's all estimated and projected uh, correctly, at least correctly, using the big data system. And triple helix, triple helix on sea farming, that because sometimes now we no longer triple helix, is quadruple helix or quintuple helix, which involve the government, the university, the private sector, and we have add in the community as well. Yeah. And the latest one, they add in 5 components: government, university, private sector, community, and environment. So that is the way that you have to address your science, your innovation, the approach that you need to know. Yeah, addressing using Industrial Revolution 4 under the big umbrella of blue economy. Yeah, so this is another example: underwater televisual system. This is some of our fishermen in Malaysia has been in Penang. Sorry, not in Malaysia, because you are in Malaysia also. In Penang has been using this because they put in a camera, because they want to see how much the food has been consumed and how much waste, or whether their fish are swimming in the correct way, or are they healthy or not. So all this underwater televisual system, you can actually design, the engineer can design the system, and then the scientists, the biologists can use it for their farms or their fish culture on this technology. It can be in the pond, it can be in the offshore or near shore, that sort of activities. And this is also a system that can be used, an early warning system for coastal community fishers, especially for strong incoming wind. I think this is very important, especially on the East Coast. You do get storms, and you do get the monsoon, the typhoon at times, because South China Sea is very open and is not as protected as in the Straits of Malacca, where Penang is. So this is something I feel the scientists in IIUM should look into, so they can contribute to the farmers or to the culturists in your area. Yeah. And the sea surface drone, this is something that to monitor the seagrass beds, and or also to monitor the coral reef coverage, because sometimes for divers, for those of you who dive, sometimes when we go down to do a transect, we have only, if you are diving on shallow area and you are a good diver, most probably your tank, you can last for about an hour, with one tank. But sometimes that will be the limitation of your science, because the size is determined by the amount of air in your tank. But if by using video cam and by using this drone and robotic approach, most probably you can do a lot more coverage. You can, by attaching a camera, in the drone, in the underwater drone or on the surface drone, more coverage can be done. More, your science will be more sound. That means you will be getting more data, by using all these gadgets. Yeah. And so this is also another approach: Internet of Things for seagrass ecosystems, smart coastal management. So this, why I'm saying this, because this, remember this first, because when I, towards the end of my talk, when I talk about the 10-10, then you will know why all these approaches are important. Internet of Things, why we use sensor instruments and vehicle and connect to internet so we can collect data. Because usually if by manual, we can only do a very small spot as a representative of the coastal area. And if we want to have better representative, we need a lot of cost, a lot of time, and a lot of manpower to monitor the whole coastline to actually recommend a good management, spatial management plan, ICZM, But then now with this Internet of Things, things can be done quick, easier, more accurate, and can cover a bigger area, that one team of scientists can do. So it will give us a more reliable data. And strategy of agro-maritime 4.0 transformation. These are what I've mentioned before is smart community and human development. You must incorporate in, there must be community involvement and human development. The human development, it can be from your student, it can be yourself, or it can be from the community or even public. Yeah, and you must also know the milestone of implementation. You must have research roadmap before you can actually empower us all. Or here is empower the fishers. You can actually empower the policy makers, with the knowledge. So this is, I go quickly on this. Smart community, this is how you can go about it. Involvement of community through getting them involved. It can be in the field work, or you can have a workshop with them. And then this is how it can be used. Coastal and marine spatial planning. This is very important because a lot of time we do not have plans, and sometimes that is why many of our mangrove has been chopped, because we have no plans, and all the industrial player or the opportunities will come in and destroy the environment. And these are the milestones, how you can design your milestone based on this to incorporate level of technology achievement. And this is your roadmap also, based on the baseline technology development and your target. Because once you have this, then you have aim, and then you would have directions. Without all these things, you would not have direction, and you would not do much until the next revolution comes in. So these are all the examples, that you can actually look into, how IIUM can contribute to your local communities in using all these smart approaches. You can advise also your fisheries department in your area, or the LKIM, or the relevant stakeholders, or the local government, on all these things. And okay, now I want to bring your attention to grants opportunity. Identifying the national STIE niche areas. This is projected this year start to 2025. This is in line with Malaysia Plan 12, the 12 Malaysian Plan. I'm not sure whether Dato Asma has shared with you before. These are now the current directions. Your science has to incorporate all these things in. That's why it's called the Malaysia 10-10 STIE, that involve the 10 science and technology drivers and the 10 Malaysia socio-economic drivers. So if your proposal can incorporate in some of this, because MOSTI has announced grants for everyone in both the public and private institution to submit proposals, but with the condition that your proposal is in line with this 10-10 STIE. So if you look at zoom in, the 10 socio-economic drivers is the energy that we have talked about just now, also business and financial services, ocean, remember the ocean finances, you can incorporate in the culture, arts and tourism, medical and healthcare, which is the pharmaceutical, the bio blue resources, the smart technology system, and these are the the internet, the where the industrial revolution comes in. The smart cities and transportation, water and food, agriculture, forestry, education, environment, and biodiversity. What if it's your purely marine science, then you can look into the socio-economic drivers of environment, biodiversity. You can go into agriculture and forestry, water and food. Those are the areas, medical and healthcare areas that you can tap into. Yeah. And if you look at the niche, the national niche areas, yeah, the national niche areas for the 10 socio-economic drivers. Yeah, the top one, the top line, it was just now been mentioned, the energy and then the environment and biodiversity. And what you need to see is the niche areas, yeah, under these economic drivers. If you look at here, I'm not sure you can see my cursor, under the water and food, premium food, super food, local superfood, yeah. And then under agriculture and forestry, high value seafood. You know, that's why just now I shared a lot of examples on aquaculture, on fisheries, yeah, because that is where most of us can enter. Yeah, most of us can enter. And then the last one is precision biodiversity, innovative eco products from waste, which is something that we can go in also, because that involve marine pollution, marine litter, marine plastic pollution, the pollution entering our food source. You know, those are something that we can enter. So this is very relevant to us, you know, because if this has been presented to you, I'm sure most of you would be still having big question marks in your mind. How are we going to do this? So now I'm telling you, you know, how, you know, what are your niche, how you can enter and tap into the grants provided by MOSTI. Yeah. And the science technology drivers, yeah, that need to be incorporated into each of these socio-economic drivers. These are the science and technology drivers that you need to put in. That's why I talk about drone, I talk about Internet of Things, I talk about using sensors. You know, those are the things that, you know, bioscience technology, advanced intelligent systems, those are the things that can be addressed. You can answer, you can use it to answer this sensor technology. So in your proposal, even though it's in the production of high value seafood, you can also incorporate in all these technology drivers, having sensors in, having your drone, having your AIT IoT inside here, you know, by based on this, because these are the way forward that the country wants us to be. Yeah. For example, if you look at this um chart, you know, if you look at for example, let's look into environment and biodiversity. You know, you can use sensors, yeah, to monitor the distribution of coral reef, sensor technology, or you can use advanced intelligence system, you know, the underwater monitoring thing. And bioscience is your genetics things, on the gene pool, yeah, the proteomics and all the omics kind of technology that come in. So there is opportunity for all in this new system, in this MySTIE framework. There is opportunity for all, and it encourages multidisciplinary and transdisciplinary work among the scientists. No, now with this system, nobody would be working in silo. You need a teamwork to move the agenda of blue economy, to move the agenda of sustainability, and to move the agenda of industrial revolution 4.0. You know, so these are the enablers, the booster. You know, if you look at the economic booster, look into high value tourism, high value seafood, premium halal food. You can look at digital and autonomous services, you know, digitalized tourism. These are opportunity, and the double impact. How do you how do you go into the double impact component is the integrated water resource management and the smart supply chain, because even this is stated for forest product, but even for your high value seafood, your supply chain has to be addressed also. And precision, the societal well-being catalyst, precision medicine, precision biodiversity, personalized and experiential learning. That means your hands-on, human-centered design and analytics. So these are all areas that you can venture in, based on, when you want to link it with blue economy, when I have dissected into blue resources and enabling environment, blue spaces, each component inside there that can fit into all this niche that you can do. And let's look at the STIE ecosystem. I zoom in into Pahang, because IIUM is in Pahang, if I'm not right. So look at what you can do, in Pahang, what has been highlighted by MOSTI in terms of the potential STIE ecosystem. In Jeli is in wood, Cameron Highland is on aquaculture, Temellow, agriculture and aquaculture on the patin fish, transportation and logistic, Gambang, high value halal food, pharmaceutical, pharmaceutical and cosmetic, and you can use all these things from the blue resources, from the oceans, and then Kuantan, you have this fishing aquaculture, oil palm, all this is relevant, very, very relevant to marine science, and Pekan, Pekan, look at this, maritime industry, opportunities for all of you, maritime industry. So all this is what Pahang needs, the top 5 areas in Pahang. Look at it and see what you can do to enhance it as a scientist, as the intellectual in this state. See how you can enhance it. I'm not saying that you don't cross to Penang, you don't cross to Terengganu, but because of the restriction in funding, the restriction in time, it's best to do somewhere around your area, champion it, and then duplicate the success story to other states. That is how a scientist or a project should move. So with that, I hope I have give a good overview of how you can actually utilize a blue economy into sustainability and how to link it with Industrial Revolution 4.0. Pass back to you, Dr. Akbar. Sorry that I've taken more time than I should.
No problem at all. It's full of information, and we are very much delighted to hear all the information. It is so immense that we cannot grasp everything.
I know. I feel like that's why I say any one of you who wants to have more, please feel free to contact me through internet, WhatsApp, or whatever. I'm more happy to guide. I can even help to look at your proposal or whatever, because now for young scientists, you need grants to support your studies. Without grant, it leads to no publication, no students, and things go on, so it's important. But the understanding of what is involved in marine science is important. With the understanding, you will see opportunities there.
Thank you very much, Prof. And because of the time constraint, I would like to open the floor for a question. Maybe few questions, and Prof. Jalal has one question, it seems. So he asked me, maybe you can unmute, Prof, and you can ask. He knocked the door and asked whether I can ask question or not. Fine.
Yes, Prof.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Prof. Aileen is really, enthusiastic and then also inspiring for everybody, even the professor level also. So I just want to focus on our 12 Malaysian plan on the development dimensions. Actually, under shared prosperity, there are 3 clusters, right? Environmental sustainability, social re-engineering, and economic empowerment. So what do you think where we should have this blue economy? Because now we can see environmental sustainability and economic empowerment both are related here. So which one you think, which cluster should be focused this blue economy? Thank you.
I think the easiest for me, being a biologist, I think the easiest to focus is the blue spaces. If you look at the component on the blue spaces, which comprises of, if I'm not mistaken, let me see. Let me check back my notes. Yeah. The blue spaces, it incorporates in the climate change and coastal adaptation, because that's where a lot of engineering component can come in, and then the coastal and marine tourism, the maritime security, transport and ports, and also importantly also the marine pollution assessment. That is something that is of emerging needs of the country, to address issues pertaining to pollution, because that is also under the blue economy. And then you can use industrial revolution, because like I've mentioned in one of the section, a lot of time our proposal, we do a lot of mitigation and we do a lot of monitoring, but we forgot to provide solutions. The solution comes in the form of Industrial Revolution 4.0, in terms of, for example, how do you monitor pollution? For example, how do you set a sensor that can alert all of us when there is a big drop in oxygen level, or there's a bloom of algae, red algae in the water, for example. Those are the things that you know I'm sure scientists will have say, oh, algae bloom is seasonable, or is triggered by hot weather and extra nutrient. But where is the trigger point? Where is the threshold limit, the tipping point that we need to set the alarm? So those are the things that the engineers can come in, that we can address also sustainability, blue environment, and also incorporating in the IR 4.0. It is something now the scientists have to talk with the computer scientists, with the engineers. We have to speak in certain ways the same language to address the country issues, if not the global issues. Yeah. I hope I answer you, Prof.
Email to you later. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Is there any other question from the floor? I mean, from the participants? Maybe another 2 more questions.
Maybe too much for them to digest. I'm sorry for information overload.
Prof, as you mentioned clearly in your presentation that you will share the slides so that I can pass to the participants.
Yes, I will do
it's
that.
Impossible to pass unless and until you register our webinar. Rather, what I can do, I can post it in our InnoCEM website, so that anyone who wants to download the presentation, they can download it. And also, this presentation will be available on YouTube very soon, because we have recorded it, so it will be uploaded very soon. So none of you or your students or anyone with you will miss this one anyhow. So if there is any question, okay. If there is one question here, Prof.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, can I have your opinion on OTEC project led by Prof. Dato Abu Bakar Jafar?
I cannot comment a lot, because I'm not really aware of the project itself, because Dato Bakar focuses a lot on renewable energy, and more on the engineering part and environment. I would say something that he's pushing. Prof Bakar is championing the renewable energy agenda for the country, so he's pushing for it. And I'm not very familiar on that, and it is in line with our commitment, the country's commitment to blue economy and sustainable use of the environment, of the blue resources. Yes. Sorry, Fikri, I cannot really comment much on that.
Any other question from the floor? Seems
Prof, maybe I have last one. There's nobody there. So, Prof, I just want to ask you, I just want to ask Prof. Aileen, this, so is there any, I mean, in terms of, I mean, measurement, I mean, how much blue economy, in terms of blue economy, how much we have in Malaysia now, in terms of, if you think like economic aspect, what do you think? In the measure the amount we have existing or so that we can see in the long run we are gradually declining, or I mean, just want to know.
No, the blue economy is actually a huge concept, but if you were to ask me on the ecosystem services to support the blue economy, I think we are blessed. Malaysia is blessed with very rich ecosystems because we have the seagrass bed, we have the coral bed, and we have the mangrove. All these three systems are actually big manufacturer or big component of the carbon sink, play a important role in carbon sink. That is why we are, like seagrass bed, it is able to capture 35 times faster of carbon compared to tropical forests. Just imagine, we always feel that forest, is the great reserve area, that actually provide, can actually hold the carbon sink. But if comparatively, based on scientist evaluation, seagrass bed play a more significant role. And sadly, we have limited seagrass beds in our areas. We have one huge one in Sungai Pulai, Johor. We have one small one in Penang. Yesterday, I was in a meeting. They are going to, in the direction of gazetting the area. If Pahang have any seagrass bed, please convince your state authority or the federal authority to protect it because it's important. And of course, the mangrove is important resources, and I feel because being in the tropics, it's a very, very huge resources for biodiversity. We are in the hotspot of biodiversity in many things, in especially our ocean. So I feel it's just that, that's why like the bahasa saying, tak kenal maka tak cinta. If I feel the understanding of blue economy is not very strong, we use the word blue economy very loosely. It's like a term that is trendy. We want our proposal to look trendy. We put blue economy, but I feel, I've been sitting in the panelist of evaluating proposal. The title sounds very catchy, blue economy, but many times when you look at the content, there is not much addressing of the true blue economy. If we can champion blue economy, I think we are going good because blue resources are surrounding us. And I think that is a blessings, which we are not looking at it seriously. That is why I in this talk I emphasize a lot initially on what is inside blue economy, what are the components in the blue economy, that each one of us do not just use it freely, but tap into the accurate resources, the accurate blue spaces that we want to address. Then we can move the blue economy agenda in the correct direction.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Prof, for your explanation. And
Hello,
because
Prof.
of the time constraint, is there any other question from the floor?
Yeah, I'm Daniel from Department of Fisheries.
Please, Nenya.
Yeah.
Hi, Neil.
One of your slides just now, Prof, is about track fish, right? It's from Indonesia, right?
Yes, yes.
Have you compared it with Malaysian fish tracking with that Indonesian version?
Yeah, I've not done it, but I've asked World Fish you know, there is World Fish Organization. They have a project on fish tracking also, but their work is on the initial stage. So this when I share this project on fish tracking, it is technology can be used
Oh,
for fishermen,
okay.
and also for those who are out in the sea, depending on the sea for a living. Yeah,
Okay. Thank you,
it's,
Prof.
it's not so much on comparing the data, which system is more effective, whether it's Indonesia or it's Malaysia, but it's an example of how technology can be used to advance our effort catch. Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
Neil.
Thank you, Prof, for the clarification.
Yeah, most
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for everyone. Because of the time constraint, I would like to end the session with thanks to the chief presenter, Professor Aileen, and as well as all the participants for your time, because it took about 1.5 hours and you people were very patient, didn't disturb anything in the middle. Very good, alhamdulillah. The program was alhamdulillah successful. And in fact, from Institute of Oceanography and Maritime Studies, we do have IIUM Marine School, the first slide that I've shared in the initial stage. So that through IIM Marine School initiative, as one of the flagship project of the SDG of IIUM, we have been focusing on the community engagement and empowering the local community with our expertise knowledge. With this, I would like to end the session with tasbih kafara and suratul nas. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma bihamdika, astaghfirullah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. I will pass you the information later. I will email to you, Dr. Abba. Thank you. Bye.
Sure.
Everybody stay safe.
Thank you,
Take
Prof.
care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.